Welcome back to another video on the Austin Metro. As you can see, the roof's been partially rubbed down. I did that a couple of nights ago. The reason why I've not done any more on it is basically I've been waiting because the paint, the primer, the high build, I think I put on too wet and too thick and it has been shrinking a bit. And if I show you now, I got rid of everything the other night. I've left it now for 2 days and as you can see, I've got some cracking in the primer. Now, it's only on the roof, so basically we're going to have to address that. So it's now been going off for a bit. What I'm doing, any imperfections that are in the paint underneath, I've been over with marker so that when obviously I sand through, I can make sure it's completely gone. I'll rub back all of the primer now. I'll take that back to the base coat, to the red that I put on, and then I'll do a dust coat of the matte black over the top, and then I'll rub that back again and just make sure there's no imperfections, and then re-primer it. Now I have 800 gritted now the entire car, so as you can see, if I take you in, the car is actually quite smooth. I did it with wet and dry, so I did it wet. There's a couple of minor imperfections still and a couple of cut throughs that I still need to prime, but they'll just be done with an aerosol. I think if I take you in there, you can see everything's looking good. This has just had a really thin flat down because obviously it was done with 600s before. Still not 100% happy with how this bit's ended up. So again, I've put another dust over because I did get a bit of minor crack in here. I think what I'm gonna do, because it's got a bit colder now, when I reprime this, I'll put the heating on in the garage, get it all a bit warmer, and then we'll lay it on with the cars a little bit warmer, and hopefully that'll stop any cracking. So I'll do that for this area here, and obviously also the roof as well. Drive side wing, a little bit of cut through, as you can see. Other than that, pretty much bang on. Driver's door the same. I don't think there's any cut through on that, but I'll check. I need to panel wipe it to obviously see. Scuttle panel is all okay as well. Front end, I've not 800 the front end yet. That's still in primer, but I'm only gonna do the bottom section anyway, so I'm not gonna bother flattening the top. In fact, I may flat this little bit here, but it's hidden by the bumper anyway, so there's not much point. Passenger wing, again, a little bit of cut through, as you can see. Need to touch that in and then obviously flat that back again. Passenger door is all pretty much perfect other than the cut through that I think I showed a minute ago. And then just this roof. So today I'm gonna crack on with the roof. I'll leave it probably a few days as well, just to make sure the paint is completely hardened up before we think about recoating it. I'm undecided whether to take the base coat right off or not, so it's going to be very dependent on what happens. So I'm going to crack on with that. Please, again, as I say on every video, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, it's appreciated. All the likes and comments are as well. So I'll crack on with this. Right, if you sat through the time lapse with me, you'll have seen I ended up doing it with a DA. I used 120 grit. I did try 240s first, but I used 120 grit. It has left me with some marks in the paint, as you can see, but I've got rid of all of the primer that I needed to. These are cut through, and over there's a little bit that I re-primed afterwards. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to do a black guide coat over the top, and then I'm going to use 240s, flat that back, then I'll guide coat it again, and then I'll do 400s, and then it'll be ready for primer. Now, as we already know, the panel is okay, so it feels fine, there's no lumps or bumps in it, so really all we need to do is get it flat ready for that high build primer. You can see here, there must have been a little bit of a low spot. It didn't actually show when it was painted either, so there's obviously something there though. So hopefully once it's high builded, primed back up again, we'll be all right with that. So what I'll do, I'll stick it back on time lapse. I know not everyone likes a time lapse, but it shows what I'm doing. I'm not hiding anything. You see me put the guide coat on, then I'll leave it for a little bit, come back, get the DA back out again with the 240 grit in. I'll probably wet sand the 400 when I get to that stage. Right, crack on again. Alright, so we've got our guide coat on. I'm going to leave that to dry, probably 20 minutes, maybe half an hour. I'll come back, get the DA out again, 240 grit, flat it back again, and then repeat the process with 400s. Right, so I've been over it now with the DA and 240 grit. I've just done another dusting of the matte black, and I'll be going over it with 400, but I'll be going over with that wet. And the reason for that is the DA is clogging up a little bit now. So on the 240 I'm getting a bit of clogging. What I wanted to show you was how the water trap's working for the compressor, so I'll just take you over. Just for anyone that has seen the DIY water trap that I built, which is that. I'm going to open this tap here, and if I follow the pipe round, it just goes to outside the garage door. You'll see how much water's come out for just probably 2 or 3 hours. And that's how much water's been coming out of it, so it's obviously been stopping a lot, and that's what would have been going into either my DA or when I've been painting, going into the paint as well. So really pleased with that, it's really working well. May well do another one next to the compressor because it's in its housing, but watch the video on the DIY water trap if you want to see how I did it. Right, as you can see, I've wet and dried the roof. I've used 400 grit, and I've got it to quite a nice finish. It's all ready for high build primer, but that's completely smooth. So I'm going to leave that to dry properly. I'll just show you around here. Leave that to dry properly, and then obviously I'll hit that with the high build primer. I've give this a rub back as well down here where I wasn't too happy with it. Used the heat gun and just used an aerosol primer just to go over it. I'm going to leave that overnight, see how it goes, and rather than using 800 grit to sand it down, because I think that's been a bit too aggressive, I might use maybe 12 or 1500s. Anyway, I'm done for the day. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hopefully in the next few weeks we're going to see it painted. Definitely going to be getting the shuts done again, the engine bay, and then obviously I need to start prep work on the bonnet and the tailgate as well. Thanks very much for watching.